My name is Rutlyn Melton. I was born and raised in Lynch, Kentucky. And went to school here, graduated here, went in service. After I got in service, I went to the city for a while because I was so high and I wasn't making enough money. The money was in Lynch, Kentucky, the coal mine. I came back home and got in the mine. I was in the mine 23 years and retired from the coal mine.
I'm Roy Stevens. I was born and raised here too. Worked 28 years. And most of it was I was a foreman and got old.
Gene Austin. I came here, I was 13 years old. High school, played basketball, football. And I was supposed to go to college at Kentucky State. My dad didn't have anything, so I went in the mine for a year, and then went in service in the Marine Corps to play basketball, and ended up on the police force in the Marine Corps for years. And I come back to work in the mine and worked for the union for 20 years. In 1968, the United Mine Workers had their convention in Denver, Colorado. They had about 2,200 delegates from all over the United States and Canada and all. They had some problems a year or two before in the conventions in Miami and all. So me being experienced in police work, military police work, they organized and got 90 of us enforcers to go to control the union meeting, keep the hard hitters out and keep all the disturbance down.
But I wasn't in it long, you know.
Okay.
I was just like in it like, they signed me up on salary when I had 4 years and 11 months.
Okay.
And you have to have 5 years to you know, to be considered. And, but they never did count that time for me for nothing. So I always say I never was in a union because I wasn't.
Well, I love the union, you know, like, to me, the salary, I don't think I can handle that, you know, because if you're on salary, when they say come to work, you gotta go to work. If you're in a union, you can say no. They improve the safety conditions and everything, and like, but in the union, you know, you work 8 hours and you go home.
And
right.
So
we didn't work. They take away
we didn't work 8 hours.
So you had to work more hours.
They did.
All the time. Every day.
The
You
salary
work about 5.5 hours, something like that, really.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of the time you just got to be on the job.
The coal mining towns are just stop areas for people like from coming from Alabama. The average person that came here only stayed 8 to 10 years. And they went on to Detroit, Chicago.
New York.
So this, if you were in Eastern Kentucky and you were black, this was the place you wanted to be.
Yeah.
The place you wanted to be.
Okay, gotcha. So because of the money, because of the social aspects, did you have a hospital here?
Yeah. It's right up there. But it's now they call it Solomon's Porch. It's like a hotel now. They made it out of a hotel.
And so did they treat just black coal miners or was it black and white?
Black and white.
And who paid for the
I was born in
treatment?
the hospital.
I was born there
The
too.
United Mine Workers paid for it.
United Mine Workers paid for it.
Let
Okay.
me, you see this long building here?
Yes.
That was a bathhouse.
Yes.
Well, all the men who worked here changed clothes and took their bath there. Half of it down that way was for the black, and the other half was white.
Okay. So segregated bathhouse. And so did you work on the same shifts together?
Yeah, worked together, but
But you couldn't shower together?
couldn't shower together.
Gotcha. Okay. What other elements of the town were segregated?
That little building down there was the restaurant and it had a divider, and half was
White.
white and half was black.
And so how, would you take your food to the mine or would you eat there?
Yeah, the metal bucket.
Is that what most people did?
That's what everybody
Everybody
did.
did.
You just brought your food to
You
the
didn't have no
mine?
cafeteria
Yeah.
to go, man.
No, you, wasn't no such thing. You eat what was in that
You
bucket.
wasn't, that's it.
And they had a drugstore, the store up there, they had a drugstore with a counter in here, half for the black, half for the white.
And we come a long way just by having that union, you know. Like,
Did you get medical care when you got the union?
mm-hmm.
Did you get the school when you got the union?
We had the school when they built the town.
Yeah,
Okay, so the school was here already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got what other elements?
well, our school now, we call it the East Kentucky Social Club.
Right?
But it's only it's one or two black schools that's still standing in Kentucky.
I know, because our house of high school got torn down. Well, we used to play you guys. Wow. So education, what about the teachers?
Oh, the teachers.
Well, I'm
we
gonna
had the
tell you
best
something.
teachers.
They had the top-notch teachers.
And who paid for the teachers?
The
U.S.
company.
Steel,
The
US
company.
The
they
company?
had their own school board and everything. They went out and recruited teachers for the black and the white from
And most
major
of-
colleges and
most
paid
of-
top salary.
They paid
And most
top
of our
money.
teachers came from Kentucky State.
From Kentucky State
And Wilberforce.
and Wilberforce. Okay.
It's a few things that the black didn't have that the white, we didn't have a golf course. Well, nobody played golf anyway. So we didn't worry about that. But we had our own clubs and things we could do. And USD was good on recreation and sports. We had which the white did too, our own little semi-pro baseball team. We'd have big-time teams come in here and play
This
games.
is for the
at
Negro
park.
League?
Oh,
Negro
yeah.
League and the Independent. And we'd have, at that gym down there, we would have big-time bands come in. And that would be for white, black, everybody come in down there to dance. James Brown, Cal Calloway, all kind of big-time bands that come in here. And
And have a good time.
and have a wonderful time. And U.S. Steel was set up, well, with the union too. 4th of July and other holidays, they'd have all kind of stuff in the park down there. Free
Yeah.
drinks, ice cream, just food.
I remember they gave me a whole box of popsicles.
They used to do those things on the
Yeah.
holidays.
Okay.
And come we had the Black Veterans Club, we had the White Veterans, and the white across the street from each other. And they would come over to the Black Veterans Club, but we couldn't go over to the White Veterans Club.
Really?
And like, well, now I belong to the Honor Guard. For a long time, they didn't even let black in the Honor Guard. But now
A
I'm
member of the Honor Guard.
Mhm.
So if someone were to ask you, you would say your experience being in a segregated coal camp in Lynch
Right.
was a positive one?
I had to say half and half.
Okay.
I put it that way.
What would be the negatives?
Well, like I just told you, I'm a veteran. I was in the war, and I couldn't understand when I come back home. And I couldn't go into that veterans club. But I wasn't good enough to go to the veterans club, but I was good enough going to fight a war. I couldn't understand that. You know?
Right.
We all fighting for the same for our country. If we can fight together in a war zone, how come we can't be together?
Here at home.
Exactly right.
It was violent all the time, but a different way. Like, right down below here, it was a camp up on the hill where we live. It was about 30 black families and about 12 white families living up there in the center of Lynch. and on the other end was bigger camps, and on the other end. So, if you were going to the ballpark, or going to the theater, or anywhere, especially kids in the evening time of night, no matter what color you was, especially our camp, we got all the white and black, you had to go from one camp to the other, you had to go together for protection.
Yeah, you had to go, you couldn't be by yourself.
Okay. So what is the attack? Why are they attacking you? Just
Because you ain't from number 3.
because you're from a different camp?
We're gonna fight you, you know, that's, yeah.
You don't have no business in there.
Yeah, you ain't got no business in that camp.
Wow.
Them kids, now not the grown people,
Kids, yeah,
that's just how the kids.
If
kids,
you lived in Camp 5, like we lived in Camp 3, we lived in Camp 5, you just walk and take place your girlfriend lived in Camp 1.
Yeah.
You had to walk past Camp 3. We stayed on the hill with rocks.
and we throw rocks till we get them.
We, on that hill, right down there, we kept a big pile of rocks up on top of the hill.
Right on the edge.
We would wait on kids come from the theater at night, or if they went to the ballpark, go back, and we would rain rock.
We got a boarding house over in Camp 2. And you know, like you was talking about the black baseball, we used to have a baseball team called Birmingham Black Barons.
Right, I've heard of them
Yeah, and they would stay at the boarding house over in Camp 2.
in town. And they came
I was
up
the
to
boy, I
play you
remember
here in
that.
Lynch?
Yeah.
They came from Birmingham to play you here in Lynch? Who won?
Yeah, they are. See,
All the
Birmingham,
houses in the board.
those people that pipe shop in Birmingham, they were U.S. Steel workers too, so you could transfer back and forth jobs. And we played each other all the time, baseball.
Did any of you work in other camps other than the ones here in Lynch or Cumberland? Were you able to transfer to other?
When our man worked out, they sent me to 37.
Okay.
And 37 was a big mine down in Cumberland. I mean, the coal was 15 foot high in most places and stuff like that, you know. It's real scary to work in.
Well, you're underground. This is all underground?
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, I worked at 32 and started low coal. When I got to 37, I thought I was in heaven because I could stand straight up. I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall.
Yeah.
And I down on my knee. I thought I was telling myself I loved it.
Because you could actually walk
I
around.
could walk around.
Yeah, but he didn't walk.
No.
Yes,
Now,
he
I've
stayed
been
in that
retired.
road all the time.
37
I wouldn't get out
years.
that car.
I retired when I was 52 years old. They got mines in Ohio,
See, they
Western
had them steel
Kentucky.
mills.
Right. Right. And so I guess
And they supported their own steel mills with the.
with the coal and the ore out of here, right?
Well, what they do, ore is something else. They mine the coal here. Our coal went to Gary, Indiana, to their steel mill.
Okay.
And they used the coal with the oil coming from Canada and North America. They made steel.
Okay.
Now, this mountain here, from the top to the bottom, there's 11 different seams of coal, some 16 feet, some 4 feet, some down to 2. And only about a third of it's been mined.
Yeah.
2 or 3 reasons. Coal got so expensive with the union scales and all that and all this other stuff. It was too expensive to mine. When I went in with my dad, you would get like 6 to 7 cents a ton of coal. The cars would hold like 5 tons. And you'd have to make a decent living, you had to load about 7 or 8 of those cars a shift.
Was this all shovel and pick work?
Big number 4 red edge.
That was hand loading way back there.
Yeah, they didn't have nothing in there to load it then when he talking about going in there.
I went in and worked with my dad, and finally the big boss looked at me, he said, Austin said, you're a good worker. I was a young boy. He said, but you never be a coal loader like your dad. So they just took me out and give me a company job.
They didn't play. I'm telling you, my daddy had big old arms, big hands. And
Well, see
he
now-
hand loaded.
It was an art to that. That coal would be like 6 or 7 feet high. And they come in there and cut the coal, but it's still a big block. Then you drill holes in it, and you run that car up there and you shoot it. If you know how to do that, shooting it, blast it, you fill that car up with one blast. You got a car full of coal, but you didn't have to do a whole load. And then you make a little pathway up in there. Next time, then you do the same thing. You might not load but 3 cars, but you're going to get 7 or 8 because you're going to
Use the dynamite so you were allowed to use that.
help you load it.
Gotcha.
Money wasn't much back then.
Nah.
That was in the 30s, 20s, and the 30s. And then
Okay.
when the war come on, things started changing. They were getting more automated, getting equipment. In the 50s, I used to run a drill, just drill top. And all I did for 7, 8 hours was sit there and push buttons. In a 7 or 8 hour shift, it's like working on a typewriter. My hands would be so still from push button that I couldn't hardly straighten them out. And all I did the whole shift was just sit there and push button
Okay.
and drill holes.
Get some old guy in the mine to teach you something about that equipment. You know, you can learn how to do it, you know. But most of them guys wouldn't tell you nothing.
No, they wouldn't.
Because is that job security?
Job
Yeah.
security.
Job security.
You ain't getting my job. That's what
Okay.
they tell you. Cause see, you know, as a boss, I have had this guy, they brought this guy in the mines and told me to teach him how to set a section up. And that's what I done on 3rd shift, you know, set up a section. And I got him in there and taught him all of that. And about 2 months later, he had my job.
Okay.
So that'll teach you not to teach nobody nothing unless you know what you're doing.
If you ran a miner or a drill, that's top paid. They paid you by the equipment that you operate on. Like miner, shuttle car, that wasn't top paid, but it was good paid. They paid you by the day. But everybody wanted to run a miner or a drill. I didn't want to run neither one of them.
So the better you were equipped, the more you knew about the equipment,
Right.
your pay went up. And then,
Well, you can help your pay. You know, you can bid on good jobs.
Doing a good job.
okay,
You get one that everybody didn't nobody like to do it too much. It was penning. They had penning everywhere. You can get a penning job anywhere. They pay top money.
okay. What is pinning?
Pin the top,
Drilling
support the
holes
top.
in the top,
Them pushing them
putting
buttons like I
rods
told
up
you.
in there like he was them levers and everything. But you put rods in the top and tighten them up, it'll hold the top up off of it. We knew each other when Philo was a pup.
I joined that church in 1943.
And you grew up in the church, that church?
Yeah.
Rutland?
too.
You did
And
too?
both of us are deacons there now.
Yeah, we got a group called Mount Sinai Spiritual.
Right. You guys came to Berea for me a couple times, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand that some of your members are in Alabama.
In Alabama.
So they're there supporting other black miners or other miners?
Mine.
Yeah, there's a union down there that they are trying to help out.
Don't realize here, with the black school and the kids here, and the parents, I say the parents had a lot to do with it. They didn't have anything to do but just send their kids to school. I'd say 75% of the kids that went to school here went to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. You have a lot of really well-known African Americans out of here who went on to,
Because I come up on a farm in Alabama. The only time me and my sister and brother got to play with some little kids was when we was at school or at church. Otherwise, the rest of the week, you didn't see nobody. And I taught my kids, you don't miss a day of school.
okay.
Why? All your fun to school, everybody you know at school, what you want to miss school for? Just a few of us are crazy enough to stay here.
In one day, a lot of strong, brave, and hardworking men spent the better part of their lives in this mine.
John L. Lewis had, I mean, when you control coal in the 40s during a world war, you got a lot of power, I've been here about 7 years total. I worked here years ago during a work-study program. That was 2011, 2012. And then when the county took it over in 2016, I came back to work here. And I've been here ever since. I've been director now for about 4 years. Portal 31 began running coal November 2nd of 1917. 1917, and it closed in late 1963. It actually laid abandoned for 5 years, and then a portion of it was reopened. The reason for that, the belt line that you see outside actually goes back into Portal 31, or it did, but it was never used for that mine. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but Portal 33 up on top of this mountain, instead of running a belt system all the way up the mountainside, what they did was they drilled a borehole 6 feet wide, 724 feet down, from Portal 33 down into 31, and would just mine the coal up on the mountain, drop it down the borehole onto the belt line, and then just shoot it across the road. Now that mine was operational from 68 until, I want to say 1990, 91, and then it closed. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the last operational mine in Lynch. Yeah, U.S. Steel is actually considered the godfather of mine safety. In the history of Lynch, that being from 1917 to 1984, the history of U.S. Steel being here, you had about 260 deaths in that amount of time. And to be honest with you, it's actually pretty good because you have to consider how many men were working underground on any one shift, and you have to understand the time frame that we're talking about. Because when you talk about teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, you just didn't have the regulations that you have nowadays, the rules, the laws. There was some violence here. Now, it wasn't the type of violence they had on the other end of the county. And what I mean by that, literally they had pitched battles in the streets. Shootouts with company men or gun thugs is what we call them, scabs. With Union men. That was a common thing in the other end of the county. Now, when you talk about Lynch as well as Benham, these were company-owned towns, and these companies in Benham and Lynch were a little bit different from everybody else. Lynch was U.S. Steel, and what people need to understand is, you know, when Lynch is built, U.S. Steel is the richest, most powerful corporation in the world at the time. They have the money and the power to do what they want to do. They built Lynch in a way so that they could control every aspect of not just the town, but the people. The company didn't want the union here because with the union, you lose that power. When you look at the history of Lynch and U.S. Steel, you know, the teens and the 20s was really different than any other time period because that is when U.S. Steel has complete control and lockdown on every aspect of living here. You know, everybody thinks automatically that when you talk union, it's all about money. And it wasn't. It really wasn't, and it never was. These guys with a union, you simply get that little bit of say-so. And what I mean by that, you know, if you're going underground to work and you're told to go work in an unsafe area of the mines, you know, you either do it or you lose your job. It's that simple. But with a union, you have that little bit of say-so, to where if you're told to work in unsafe conditions, you can say, hey, you know, you need to look at this a little better. Things need to be fixed. That's a huge deal, especially when it comes to safety. Now, I'm not saying that U.S. Steel was purposely making these guys work in unsafe conditions, but I guarantee you that probably arose a few times. This year we were closed due to a water issue we had through June. Last year we were closed due to COVID. So year before last was our last full year. And we did just over 5,000 visitors, and that was the most that has ever come through here. Now, a lot of people are interested in coal mining, the history of coal mining, the history of union. We get a lot of school groups here. You know, it's a story that definitely needs to be told. And you know, the more that we've gotten the word out that we're actually doing this, it's just the more people from farther away seem to come, because there's really not any other place in the country like Lynch. You know, there are other places that have mine tours.
Right.
But as far as the entire town being original, I don't know of another one. I mean, I really don't. The history that's here, you can't find anywhere else. I mean, you really can't. And just, for me, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the sacrifice, the struggle that went on here, that's why I do what I do. I mean, in all honesty. It's, I get up every morning with a smile on my face because I get to tell these guys' story. And, you know, with the generation coming up, these things are starting to be forgotten. You know, when I was growing up, everybody worked in the mines. My dad always told me, don't you ever go in a mine, you get your education, go to school. But, you know, it's important that this not be forgotten. These guys may have not fired a gun during a World War, but they sure as helped. They helped win it just as much as a soldier. Any retired coal miner, veterans around here, what we call retired bulldogs, you know, which was Lynch mascot. Again, another reason why I do what I do. I have never in my life seen in another group of people the pride like people from Lynch have. And when I was growing up, you know, I couldn't understand it. Yeah, this is a little town in Harlan County, Kentucky. What are you so proud about? And I really never understood that until I started working here. To see a retired miner that used to work in Portal 31 walk back in there, I mean, you can read it on his face, because going back in there to mine coal, yeah, a lot of people don't think about that. It's a poor person's job, or, you know, whatever they think. It's the only other job that I can kind of compare to the military, in that, you know, when you're doing your job, you not only look out for yourself, you have to look out for the guy next to you. And that builds a camaraderie and a pride that I have just never seen before. And, you know, Lynch in the early years, you had almost 40 different nationalities here. You had black and white, which the town was segregated. But when they went underground, it was like one big family. And that was for a couple different reasons. One, they had to come together, kind of fight the company to join the union. But more so, it was a simple fact of, you know, you're here, I'm here, I'm going to look after you, you're going to look after me, we're going to do our job, we're going to get out of here alive. Because there's a million things that can go wrong that can take your life, especially if you don't have somebody kind of looking out for you a little bit. There may not be a whole lot of material things here, but I mean, this is home to me. It'll always be home. I choose to be here. I don't have to be here. You know, I went to school, I got my degrees, I could go somewhere else and work. I choose to be here because this is what I want. I couldn't think of doing anything else in the world. Lynch's story to me is, it's a story of a lot of different things. It's a story of struggle, of blood, sweat, tears, kind of a persecution, a kind of a tyranny, you know, knowing that a company has complete control over you and your life. That's hard for me to swallow nowadays. But what those guys did and what they were fighting for, not just underground working, but, you know, towards joining the union, having a better life, for not just them, but for their families. It's unbelievable. And that is a story that needs to be told.